You can stand there and yell, argue the point till it freezes in hell.
This album, though, is personal in another way because it taps into this terrific family history story that you've unearthed.
I always knew that my grandmother was a different colour, particularly when it was highlighted to me when I was about 7 years old. And I knew that some strange things used to happen when my sister and I would go up to Bendigo from Melbourne, up to Bendigo to spend holidays up there with Nanny and Grandpa. And things used to happen that used to, big question marks were popping out of the top of my head.
What sorts of things?
She used to get little bags of flour, it looked like talcum powder or something thrown at her. Abuse. I only saw her as Nanny. I didn't know that there was anything different about her until when I was, about 10 or 11, and the little kid across the road, my grandma was coming down to visit us, and I said, "You've got to come over and meet my nan."
Nanny Marjorie?
Nanny Marjorie, yeah. And come over, because this kid was Scottish, and I knew that Grandpa was a Scot. And so anyway, one thing led to another. He came screaming through the backyard, the back door, excited to meet my grandma, and he went as white as a sheet with his mouth open and said to her, I didn't know what he'd said really because of the Scottish accent. He went, "You're black." And he's gone running out the back door, and I thought, what did he say? And I've looked over at my grandma who dunked her biscuit and continued on. I mean, she'd heard it all her life. God love her. When a person's been there all your life, you don't notice those things. She was a beautiful, big, cuddly, soft lady. Yeah, but that kid got a belting that he will never forget.
So there's a song on the album called Starlight.
Yes, that's my great-grandfather. All about him.
Who was he? He took a shine to the goldfields. The goldfields took a shine to him.
Yeah, well, he turned out to be a famous boxer too. He came out from Guyana in the Caribbean and came... I think they started out in Castlemaine in Victoria, and then, he travelled around. He became, as I say, this boxer by default, really. And then he met my great-grandmother who had come out from Boston via Africa somewhere, and they met and they produced my grandmother. It's a wonderful story.
Has that been told, that story, in your family, or is this a recent discovery?
We had always heard about this Starlight,
because he was a star. He was a star.
Well, he was a famous boxer, but I'm talking about in the early 1920 or whatever it was. I mean, Prince Edward at the time. He saw Starlight fight when he was in Australia and invited him to England, where he presented him with a beautiful walking stick with a beautiful, gold top on it and all this. He loved him. This is before boxing gloves. This is like bare-fisted fighting. And then my uncle, my mother's brother, he turned out to be a boxer as well and had the same stance and the same behaviour, apparently, as this famous Starlight. But we weren't allowed to talk. Well, the parents, the grown-ups, every time we'd walk into a room, we'd always know something was going on because everyone would stop. They were discussing it.
Was it a hidden history?
It was a hidden.
Why do you think it was hidden?
Because Nanny was illegitimate.
She'd been the product of an affair.
Yeah, but then later on they did the right thing and they did marry and, it all become above board. But Nanny was illegitimate in the beginning.